The Trump administration this week announced a major deal that could drastically lower the cost of weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Zepbound. Standing with the CEOs of Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, President Trump said the agreement will cut prices to as little as $149 a month and allow Medicare to cover some of these drugs for the first time. The deal also lowers costs for state Medicaid programs and will offer these treatments directly to consumers at a discount. On a new administration website, TrumpRx.gov, set to launch in January 2026. In exchange, drug makers will get reduced tariffs and faster FDA reviews. The new prices, they take effect mid-2026, and about 10% of Medicare enrollees could be eligible. My next guest has covered this extensively and argues that making these drugs more widely available could save both money and lives. Her Atlantic piece, Ozempic for All, laid out the economic case for covering GLP-1 medications under Medicaid. Emily Oster joins me now. She's an economy professor at Brown University and CEO of Parent Data. Dr. Oster, nice to see you again. Will this price drop force states to cover GLP-1s like they would any other FDA-approved med?
So I hope so. In general, the restriction on coverage of these drugs has been through a waiver where states are not required to cover them the way they are required to cover other approved medications. But by dropping the price to this point, there's a strong case to be made that state Medicaid programs can actually save money by covering these drugs because they will save money on the other costs of people struggling with obesity, like statins and other medications, which you may be able to lower the use of once you introduce GLP-1s.
I remember when you published the Atlantic essay initially, and you and I had a conversation, and I said it reminds me of an old 70s commercial. You can pay me now or you can pay me later, because if we don't take care of the folks who need this assistance now, in the long term, right, we'll be paying for them through our insurance pools. And I asked you at the time, where do we get to a level where it's a wash, where it makes economic sense to actually pick up the tab today? Are we about to get there?
I think we are. So I did some calculations in that piece based on what we know about the cost savings. And the calculations suggested that the break even was something around $250 a month. So if we lower prices to $150 a month, even though that is only for the lowest dose of the medication, I actually think there's a good case that we are getting towards where this is break even, or even potentially pay less now for more benefits later.
You know that some are going to hear this conversation and say, wait a minute, my tax dollars are going to end up paying for weight loss meds. Why can't they go to the gym? To which you would say what?
To which I would say, first of all, your tax dollars are paying for weight loss meds, or they're paying later for something else. So actually, this might save you money. But I also think, as a practical matter, it is absolutely true that in principle, diet and exercise can result in weight loss. But in practice, people really struggle with that, and we have not seen success. And when we look at what has happened for people with the GLP-1s, reductions in metabolic disease, improvements in ability to exercise, reductions in alcohol abuse, reductions in drug abuse. I mean, we are seeing so much evidence of benefits from these medications that could really have vastly positive impacts on society. And I think that's something that we should all value. And by making these cheaper and by expanding access to Medicaid and Medicare, we cover a set of people who are otherwise not going to be able to access these medications, and for whom actually they may be the most effective.
I'm not denying that there's a behavioral component to this conversation, but at the same time, I'm saying to myself, if we were sitting here having a conversation about a cancer cure, I don't think dollars and cents would be any kind of a consideration, certainly not like they are in this. Your thought?
Absolutely. I think that because we have imbued obesity with a kind of moral valence, we have the sense that it's somehow people's fault, the way we wouldn't say cancer is your fault. And that means we come at it with this view that, well, why should I pay for the drugs that will treat this? Over time, I think people have shifted to understanding a bit more that a lot of the components of what drives obesity are not actually behavioral. But I think purely as a practical matter, these medications are just really effective in improving people's health and in lowering their medical costs. And we have to just face that reality and kind of put aside whatever emotional weight we want to give to obesity.
A quick final question, and not fair to you because I'm sure it's a complicated answer, but with regard to the president's quote-unquote fat friend, that's the way he described the friend, why is the cost overseas so much less than it is at home for these very meds?
This is a very complicated question and relates to a lot of the ways that we negotiate drug prices in different places. And in general, medications in the U.S. do tend to be more expensive than medications abroad for a lot of different reasons.
Okay, Dr. Oster, thank you so much. Here's some social media reaction from the world of X, I believe. Follow me on X, subscribe on YouTube. No brainer. We have meds for all other addictions. Why not food? Arguably 10 times the crisis than other addictions. Yeah, I think it was, you can fact check me on this. I think it was Fram oil filters. You can pay me now or you can pay me later. I mean, to those who say we shouldn't have a financial stake in helping the people who desperately needs these meds today, well, okay, fast forward 20 or 30 or 40 years, because at that time, collectively, we're going to be assisting those folks with their long-term care. Better that we help them today and enjoy them not only to lose weight, but to have a more enjoyable and healthy life for the next few decades. You've still got time to vote on today's poll question. Go to Smerconish.com. Can't wait to see, and I have no idea how you're voting. It'll pop up on your screen when you vote. By 2050, will the United States be best described as a democratic socialist nation? Is that where we're headed? While you're there, sign up for my free and worthy daily newsletter. You get the work of illustrators such as Jack Oman. Check that out. And Rob Rogers, he drew this one for the daily newsletter.